Get your first look at the CBC Evening News each Tuesday with news headlines at 7. Brought to you with the good wishes of Sagicor General Insurance. Wise financial thinking for life.
Efforts to end the sugar impasse continue. Great expectations for St. Lawrence Gap. And in sports, the champs are back and ready for the next challenge.
Get your first look at the CBC Evening News each Tuesday with news headlines at 7. Brought to you with the good wishes of Sagicor General Insurance. Wise financial thinking for life.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Michelle Arthur with the April 15th edition of the CBC Evening News. There's still no resolution to the impasse that has ground the 2014 sugar harvest to a halt. At this hour, stakeholders are meeting once more at the Labour Department in Warrens under the chairmanship of Labour Minister Dr. Esther Barr-Sukkul. Joining us on the line from that location is Ryan Broom. Ryan, bring us up to date on what's been happening with this latest meeting.
Good evening, Michelle. Intense talks are still underway here at the Labour Department. Minister of Labour Dr. Esther Barr-Sukkul got the discussions going earlier this afternoon as she held a separate meeting with officials from the BAMC about 2:30. That meeting lasted just over an hour, and then the minister went separately with officials from the BWU. She emerged just after 5 o'clock to start yet another individual meeting with BAMC officials. That meeting is still ongoing at this time. So when that ends, she will then meet with both sides in a bid to hammer out a resolution. However, sources close to the talks tell me that it is difficult to say whether or not a resolution can be reached tonight. What is clear is that the BWU has not backed down on its insistence for an apology, while the BAMC is equally insistent that it has done nothing wrong and has followed correct labour procedures. The Labour Minister remains confident that a resolution can be reached without the matter having to be referred to Prime Minister Frendo Stewart. Should talks break down again, this ongoing strike will enter day 7 tomorrow, with Portvale workers remaining off the job. More importantly, several trailers filled with cane are in jeopardy of spoilage with each passing day, as financial losses also continue to mount. Michelle?
Thank you very much, Ryan. Well, there are big expectations that major investment by government and the private sector in infrastructural upgrades in St. Lawrence Gap will pay off for the tourism sector. Tourism Minister Richard Seeley has been speaking about a number of ongoing projects in the Gap that will breathe new life into the entertainment hub of the South Coast. His comments came as he toured the area with other tourism officials to unveil the refurbished boardwalk. The renovations cost about $80,000 to reconstruct, coming in $20,000 under budget. Minister Seeley lauded the private sector response in general, as refurbishment work has also been done on Pisces Restaurant, Cafe Sol, the Reggae Lounge, and in the area of the old After Dark.
Time Out at the Gap has of course been effectively run by a private partner. That was one of the HRL properties, and they are seeing much better room rates and much better occupancies and so on. And of course, the mother of them all, we all know that Sandals has started work on their refurbishment. $65 million will be spent between now and December, bringing that property up to scratch. 250 people are presently working on that site, and there will be as many as 1,000. So that again shows investment in the Gap, not only by the public sector, but by the private sector. Not only by the domestic private sector, but foreign direct investment as well.
More closed-circuit TV cameras will also be installed along the stretch to beef up security and keep a lid on crime.
Barbados is a low-crime area, a low-crime destination, and we continue to push that because it is a fact. But unfortunately, we will have an incident occasionally, and we want to make sure that we can, when such does occur, we can solve them quickly. And so we need to equip the Royal Barbados Police Force with the capacity to do such.
And a reminder to some St. Lawrence Gap nightclub owners to tone it down a bit. It comes from MP for Christchurch South, John Boyce, who says some of them are still not complying with restrictions on playing loud music. The representative for the area says despite reaching some level of understanding between residents and nightclub owners, there are still a few exceeding the limit.
There are still some operators, regrettably or thankfully only a few, who have not yet come to terms with maintaining some level of controlled noise in the area. There are still about residents here in the St. Lawrence area who look forward to a comfortable night's sleeping. Whereas we are the entertainment capital, I think that we can do a lot by controlling our equipment to control the amount of noise that actually penetrates beyond in the entertainment area that we control.
A senior member of the local church community has expressed concern that there are far too many fetes and parties taking place during the Lenten season. Vicar of the St. Patrick's Roman Catholic Church, Father Clement Paul, says he's noticed a general decline in the observance of Lent over the years. He's especially concerned about the recent carnival held along Spring Garden Highway and how some people chose to party on Browns Beach on Palm Sunday.
I am so shocked to see how far we have drifted from the endearing culture our foreparents bequeathed to us to reverence Holy Thursday, Good Friday, in fact, the whole of this week, that I keep asking myself, where has the church failed to promote and maintain the holiness of this week and the sanctity of Lent and of Sundays?
And Father Paul is calling on organizers of parties and fetes to exercise some restraint during the remaining Holy Week.
I appeal to party and fete promoters to please, in the name of God, give our Lord and Savior at least one out of the 52 weeks in the year by refusing to hold activities that diminish the sanctity of Holy Week. It cannot hurt to do so, can it?
The family of slain Jamaican Sharice White is pondering how to find the $1 million Jamaica dollars, or just over 17,000 Barbados dollars, to fly her body home for burial. Her mother, Maureen Johnson, told the Jamaica Observer she has appealed to the Foreign Ministry in Jamaica for assistance, but was told that ministry does not offer the kind of assistance she needs. It is not clear whether she has appealed to another arm of government there. Meanwhile, CBC understands that White's body is being kept in the morgue of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital at a cost of $110 a day. White was shot dead in an apartment in Bibby's Lane on April 1st. Social Care Minister Steve Blackett said the matter is the purview of the Jamaica government.
If one of our nationals were to die overseas, I have never been confronted with a situation like that. But I am sure that if the body needs to be brought back to Barbados for burial, that the government, through my ministry, the Ministry of Social Care, would provide some means of having that body brought back. But certainly a non-national, that wouldn't fall squarely within the province of the Ministry of Social Care. That would be a situation that would be strange to us. Let's put it that way.
Police have charged 37-year-old Junior Wilmot with White's death. She was a mother of 2. There was a red moon over Barbados last night. It intrigued some Barbadians who woke up around 3 a.m. to see the earth cast a shadow over the moon, giving it the red look. This series of photographs shot by Stephen Rowe, a video editor here at CBC, shows the eclipse in its various phases, and the final shot by amateur photographer Jason Prescott shows the moon completely covered and blood red. This morning's event was the first total lunar eclipse in more than 2 years and the first in a series known as Tetrad. The other 3 will occur October 8th this year and April 14th and September 28th, 2015. Local agricultural officials are getting assistance from the U.S. to eradicate the giant African snail. A top official in the Department of Agriculture in Florida is in Barbados to tell officials here about how they got rid of the pest in the 1960s. Dr. Trevor Smith, Chief of the Bureau of Methods Development and Biological Control, will be conducting public lectures at the Samuel Jackman Prescott Polytechnic. The entomologist is expected to focus on best practices used by his department to manage and eradicate species like the giant African snail.
Well, we've definitely zeroed in on the molluscicides. Those are the chemicals used to kill the snails. We've really zeroed in on the ones that are the most successful. And a lot of that was based on work done in Barbados. We also did further research on traps, different kinds of attractants, things to bring them into those traps. And a lot of that has led to small successes. The molluscicide's the big success. But we're also looking at the biology. You would think for an organism that's been around, been a known pest for 100 years, that you would know a lot more about the biology than we do. But it's surprising how little's out there.
Young people will get a chance to have their say on matters of national interest through the re-energized National Youth Parliament. 60 representatives of various secondary and tertiary level institutions selected for the Youth Parliament are benefiting from training. It's introducing them to the parliamentary system and procedures, enhancing their debating skills. Members of the Barbados National Youth Parliament Subcommittee, Cherise Francis, sees the Youth Parliament as a training ground for aspiring young politicians. She believes Barbados stands to benefit in the long run.
This is a step in the right direction towards ensuring a culture of succession is birthed. If the National Youth Parliament achieves its objectives, our island will be better for it, with young people who understand Parliament and can one day make a seamless transition from the Youth Parliament to government office.
Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth, Stephen Lashley, says the reintroduction of the Youth Parliament came after discussions with young people. He says it provides another platform to advance the national youth policy.
That policy states, and I quote, "A determination to provide well-educated, confident, healthy, responsible, progressive, creative and enterprising young men and women who are fully involved in the sustainable cultural, political, economic, social and physical development of their Caribbean nation," end of quote. That's a very progressive goal.
As the Democratic Labour Party prepares to celebrate its 59th anniversary, General Secretary Donville Innes says the party has a history to be proud of. He says policies have been implemented that have moved Barbados from a village to a nation-state. He says the DLP continues to build the island.
There's a lot of resources that abounds within this party and this country that we intend to work with and fully utilize to ensure that we are able to put Barbados on a path of sustainable growth, so that in the not too distant future we can be talking about low unemployment levels again, about greater satisfaction among our people in this country, about new businesses opening and expanding, about not having any challenges with our foreign exchange position, about making a mark on the international arena.
2 activities are being held to mark the milestone, which are open to all Barbadians. One is a panel discussion entitled Capitalizing on the Restructuring Process on April 30th at the St. Leonard's Boys School. The other is a Thanksgiving gospel concert on April 27th at the DLP headquarters in Belleville.